The world is asking big questions about the United Nations, whether this institution is representative and legitimate, representative of the entire world, of every region, whether it's built to meet the challenges of the day as well as the challenges of the future. Now, the world hoped that this new Security Council would maintain world peace and help to avoid the mistakes of the past World War II. To do that, the UNSC can even impose sanctions, blockades, travel bans, and even authorize military actions. But I wonder, what has been the role of UN in recent, wars, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or it's Israel, Hamas, or any other major terrorist or criminal activities? Now, to overcome this efficiency and inaction, should we consider fewer or more members in the UN? That's my core question is. Let's just go through the recent facts of the story of UN to come to some logical questions and topics of reforming the UNSC. Now, what is US planning to do? Planning to push for 2 permanent UNSC seats for African nations plus an elected rotating seat for a small island developing nation. Now, we have already received some very enthusiastic feedback, from the partners who kind of got a sneak peek with the US officials saying that they're serious about the reform and it's going to be. But is that a big deal? Like, really? Having new voices are important. And more important is how these stronger nations going to play their roles in getting these newer nations. Now let's see the functioning of UNSC. The council's top voices are 5 permanent members. We call them P5: China, France, Russia, UK, and US. And they are the boss. They are the boss because they are the ones who have the ultimate power to veto decisions. And then there's 10 rotating seats with members elected to 2-year terms. And the freshest 5 took their seats in the month of January. Algeria, Guyana, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, and South Korea. Now, they don't get to veto, but resolutions still need these 9 votes to pass. Now, that's the functioning. Now, this UNSC has a history of remaining, deadlocked during the Cold War. What did we witness in this era? It's been stuck again lately, both over Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas war. Now, in this, US has vetoed the resolutions while China and Russia have vetoed 2. Is UNSC setup still reflecting the reality? The Security Council is failing to represent so many regions of the world, and that's increasing frequency of the veto is also inhibiting its functionality. So, and it's been kind of, very long time that this feeling is now prevailing among the nations. All this UNSC paralysis is getting really wonky and even expensive, costly. But there's also been a broader sense that the UNSC setup no longer reflects the reality. Let's see some proposals across the geography. Now, the G4 nations, Brazil, Germany, India, and Japan, they all want P5 status plus 2 seats for Africa, though they are willing to compromise on the vetoes. Now, uniting for consensus, led by Argentina, Mexico, Italy, Poland, Pakistan, South Korea, and others. This group, known as the Coffee Club, wants to expand the council's elected members from 10 to 20. Eswatini consensus, endorsed by the African Union Bank in 2005. Now, this one calls for African countries to get 2 permanent seats with full veto rights and at least 3 additional non-permanent seats. Small 5, run by Costa Rica, Jordan, Liechtenstein, Singapore, and Switzerland. Now, this one aims to revise the UNSC's working methods to boost the transparency. And as the US has long supported the permanent seats for Germany, India, and Japan, though there is a tricky thing here also. The pointers here are, can you really imagine Russia approving permanent seats for 2 or more US allies, that's Germany and Japan? Or China adding two of its regional rivals, that's Japan and India. So now going back to where we started, this latest US proposal, it's not proposing to add more US allies or any rivals that China or Russia might really oppose. Rather, it's only adding three voices across the geography that have been kind of longly isolated from the international decisions, and that impacts them the most, which are the two African voices and one smaller island voice. And most of these nations will be under debt by either of these powers, more importantly, America or China. Now, here is the analysis. Could this US idea really offend anyone? Well, yes, not because of Africa or the islands, but because this idea is only a US idea. And in this low trust world of ours, that can be all it takes. US is just adding more voices, increasing the number of nations, again trying to create a perception of they are doing good and big by including voices of Africa. Now don't forget the internal civil corruption and issues of Africa that they are still struggling with, and America's and Europe involvement in that. I'm only giving a perspective. Maybe sometimes in future we'll have a talk in this about this subject later. Now my take. There are a couple of tensions at play here. The council itself is struggling between the legitimacy, needing a membership that reflects reality and efficacy. It has been effective in any regulations during the wars. I will not hesitate to say it has been only Indian Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi who had dared to personally go and visit most of the war affected regions and met their global leaders, be it Putin or Zelensky. And he was heard and even respected by these leaders, irrespective of the US disliking it. Had now US been so genuine towards the reforms, why couldn't he reaffirmed and strong to include India for a better trade, growth and global economic growth and peace? When America has the power to give or to dictate, not to extend veto power to any of these new permanent members, what is the logic behind this? Second, my point here is each member is wanting to preserve its own power. We all know that. Knowing the UNSC's power itself is getting diluted if it does not evolve, and the way US is proposing, it doesn't seem that it will get evolved. Now I'm constantly affirming that the UNSC actually needs fewer or more members who will have the ability to improve the trade corridors, bilateral relations, reduce terrorism and improve the peace. And that's what we see, actually that's what the reforms do. So how do you all perceive this proposed reform, or shall I say an attempt for reforms of US in UNSC? Do let us know in the comment section, and if you like our video, do subscribe and share. Jai Hind. Thank you.